Goodreads recently came out with their list of the 144 most read books so far for the 2025 reading challenge. And I have read or attempted to read 75 of them, so I have a lot of opinions and I thought I could share them with you just for fun. Most read doesn't necessarily mean best, and I feel like it's hit and miss for me, so I'm going to go quickly for the ones that were just okay, and I'm going to go into more details with a really good one or really bad ones. And just because I loved or hated something doesn't mean you're going to feel the same, so I'm going to try to explain it. Feel free to leave your own reviews in the comment section, but we're just going to go in order. The first category is fiction, and out of the top 12, I have read or attempted to read 8 of them. Usually not my main genre, but I guess I do read the popular ones. Wedding People was in number 1, and I really liked it. One of the last books I read last year took me by surprise. I thought this was going to be more like chick lit for some reason. It's not. It's darker and deeper than I expected. So this woman, she is depressed and she wants to attempt, and she goes to this hotel that she was dreaming of going to, and when she arrives, she realized a mistake was made and there's a wedding going on. So she wasn't supposed to be allowed to have a room, and the bride finds out why she's there, and obviously she doesn't want this woman to ruin her wedding, so she attempts to prevent that. And I like the banter, I like the relationships that happens. The ending was a little weaker than the rest of the story, but I overall did really like it, so would recommend that one. Number 2 is Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I think all of her books on this list, she's definitely really popular. This one is her literary fiction one. You have this woman who decides to steal the work of her friend. She's a white woman, her friend is a woman of color, and pass it as her own. So there's definitely a lot of social commentary happening. This is a really popular like book club kind of book. I definitely understand why. It's definitely a book that people have strong opinions on, so I would recommend. I did attempt to read Remarkably Bright Creatures, and it was one of those books that for some reason instantly I knew it wasn't going to be for me, so I returned it to library. It falls for me in the category of books that is like children's book for adults. That's how I can explain it. Like, it's one of those stories that are going to try to make you emotional, and if you're not emotionally invested, I feel manipulated and I just automatically hate them. So I could feel that coming, so I put it down and returned it. So it's probably not a bad book, it just wasn't for me. I did read Blue Sisters. It was my first book by the author, and I did overall enjoy it. I think I liked the writing style of the author more than the actual story. It's definitely very depressing too. We're seeing a team with the literary fiction section. So you have these 4 sisters. One of them passed away the year prior. You don't really know exactly what happened at first, and you're seeing the consequences of that on the 3 of the sisters. They're all feeling very, very lost in their own way, and they have to go back to New York to clean the hotel before other parents sell it. So yes, there's a lot of grief in their backstory, but I thought the writing style was stronger than the actual story, so I would read more by the author. Here one moment, I have said very loudly, and I shouldn't have, that I was never going to read anything else by the author. And in my defense, I read Big Little Lies and loved it, and then I tried to read 3 of the books by her and I couldn't finish any of them. So I wasn't going to, but then I heard what the story was about and I decided to give it a shot, and I did like it. I was wrong. This woman gets up in a plane and starts telling everyone when they're going to die and what's going to be the cause of their death. Which, like, of course I'm gonna wanna read this. And people are not sure to take it seriously or not, but then people start dying. It's definitely not like sci-fi. It's definitely very character driven, kind of, you know, trying to find messages in here. So definitely keep that in mind. But I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. It's very slice of life, so it's slow paced and everything, but it worked. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is one of those books that I started and just never finished. At first I intended to, but I just never went back to it. So I never will. Kind of goes to show that it was kind of boring. People working on developing a video game, yet it's boring. So next we have Normal People in the 8th position. I don't understand why people are still reading it. That was mean, but I meant it. I hated this book. I know a lot of people watch a TV show and they're really attached to characters and then they read the book that could, you know, influence it. My review on Goodreads is literally saying that whoever was responsible for the marketing needed a raise because they managed to make millions actually at this point. Read this book that, again, I found incredibly boring. Everyone's going to feel differently about it, of course, but I really do not get the hype with this one. I'm never reading anything else by the author. That was a one and done. And then the last one I did read is Demon Copperhead. I feel like every year there's a literary fiction that becomes really popular, historical fiction, and this was the one of last year. And I did like it, but I didn't love it as much as everyone else. So I did appreciate a social commentary on the opioid epidemic in the Appalachian, talking about poverty. Like, all of those messages were good, but I found the book so long. It's a really thick one, and I found that the ending was kind of rushed and the romance was really, it came out of nowhere. So I had some issues with it, but it wasn't a bad book. Again, I thought it was okay, and again, it's not my main genre, so whatever. Take it with a grain of salt. The next category is historical fiction, which again is not my main category yet. I have read or attempted to read 7 of them. When it's not your main genre, that's kind of how it goes, at least for me. Like, I'll see what's popular and I give it a shot. I have read James, that is in second position, and really enjoyed it. Retelling of Huckleberry Finn, which I haven't read the classic. I don't think I missed anything, but probably better if you have read it. I love the writing. I think the author has other books which I will need to read because, again, that was the strength for me. I really like the characters. I read it super quickly. It's popular for a reason. Definitely check it out. There are a few that are currently on my TBR, but I haven't tried them yet. Fifth position, I have read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and at the time I liked it mainly for the background story. Basically, this old Hollywood star is finally telling her story, and she is telling it through her 7 husbands and telling you who her one true love was. So that portion was interesting. I didn't care for the present time story, especially the ending, but I couldn't put it down at the time. Number 6, we have Lessons in Chemistry. It's again one of those books that I couldn't do it. About 50%, I put it down and returned it to the library. It just wasn't for me. It feels like it wants to be feminist, but it just was rubbing me the wrong way. It just wasn't for me. Great Alone by Kristen Anna. She has 2 other books on this list, but I haven't tried them yet, so she's clearly very popular in historical fiction category. The Great Alone is set in the 70s in Alaska, so this man that went to Yarros coming back and he's struggling with PTSD, obviously has no help, so he just beats his family. DV is definitely a good portion of the story. You found this young girl who was trying to escape, and I really liked the first 2/3 of this book, and then it lost me. So Small Things Like These, very, very short book. I think it's like 150 pages. It's set in Ireland, and it's a social commentary on the church, and it talks about abortion, these kind of topics. So keeping it somewhat vague because it's super short, but it's impactful. I did also read Daisy Jones and the Six, and I was warned to listen to that one as an audiobook because it's like interview style, and I agree. However, I would say skip the book and just watch the TV show. I never say that, but the TV show is so much stronger. It felt like a skeleton of a story, which again, the way it's written makes sense, but I feel like it just is a lot more fleshed out in the actual TV show. So read it if you want to, but watch the TV show for sure. And then last but not least, we have Wayward, which I also had to put down. I thought this was fantasy in its defense, but it's more historical fiction, kind of dark. It goes in direction I had no interest in reading, so I didn't. I promise some good categories are coming soon, but next we have mystery thrillers, and out of the top 12, there are 7 that are from Frida McFadden, and I want to talk to someone because I hate her. Like, you know how it is, like, sometimes some authors are popular and you don't understand the hype, and she's that for me. 100% the worst books I have read. From that list, I did read The Housemaid and I attempted Never Lie, and they are genuinely the worst written books I've ever read. I don't understand the hype, just the popularity. Like, I'm all for like popcorn reads, especially mystery thrillers, but there has to be something that is good. Either the writing, the plot, the characters, like something, and I failed to see it. They read like horrible fan fiction. I know they used to be, and they were picked up by a publisher though. Like, why are you... Why? They're popular, they're making money, but at what cost? Obviously, my reviews are subjective, but I really do not understand, and I just feel this rage against her at this point because I want to see books on these lists that I will be interested in trying, and 7 out of 12, I can't get any recommendations in that category from Goodreads for sure. So The Housemaid, main character was in prison for years, you don't know why, and she needs a job, so she lies to become a housemaid. She has absolutely no street smart. Basically, I resent the fact that people are writing stories where the main female characters are incredibly dumb. You went to prison for years and you've learned nothing? Anyway, we're going to skip because I'm just going to rant. The one book I did like in this category is in the 4th position, and it is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I do want to say it shouldn't be on this list because if you go into this book expecting a mystery thriller, you're going to be disappointed. This is more of a like family drama kind of story. I liked it quite a bit, but you have to go into it with the right mindset. So basically, this family owns this summer camp. So if you want to read it right now during the fall, it would be ideal. And years ago, their son disappeared. The camp was closed. Never got really answers, never found a body. So mysterious. And then when they decide to reopen it, their daughter disappears. It's very much of a character-driven, slow burn, small town secrets, family secrets, and I really enjoyed it. like the writing too. I do think the author's improving more and more. This is my third book by her and it's my favorite, so would recommend it, but again, with the right mindset. The last book I did read in this category that isn't for Emily Fadden is The Silent Patient, which I am once again dumbfounded. Why? Like, I know popular doesn't mean good, fine, or that you are going to think it's good, fine, but I generally hate this one too. I feel like it's a good mystery only if you've never read any mysteries, like ever. I feel like I saw the ending coming super early. The writing was not good, which again, it sounds like I really am picky with writing, but I am not. They're just genuinely so badly written. I listened to that one as an audiobook and I had to pause a few times because audiobooks are usually really forgiving, I feel like, for like the quality of writing. I had to pause because I was appalled that this was published. So again, it's usually not something I say ever, but ew. Fantasy. Out of the 12, I have read or attempted 11 of them, and the only one I didn't is because I'm not that far in the series. So like, we're definitely in my genre now. First position, are they really in order? They can't be, because we have The Midnight Library. I did like this book, but like number one, really? I do have to say I read it before it had a lot of hype, so I feel like my expectations were lower and I did really enjoy it. I'm a sucker for premises that are like really intriguing, and this one is definitely it. So this woman, she's depressed, she attempts, and she ends up between life and death. And she goes to this library, and every book in that library is her life or what could have been. So she gets to try on a couple ones. So the themes are definitely centered around depression, the what if. There's a bit of hope in there, and I did really end up invested in the storyline. I agree that the ending was not as strong as the rest of the story, but I was okay. I feel like it almost goes in a direction that I would have hated, and I got in so many comments about it. I know, but it doesn't, so we're good. Number 2, we have The Invisible Life of Eddie Larue by V.E. Schwab. Loved. I think this is my favorite book by her. Her writing, stunning. You have this woman in the 1700s in France who is forced to marry this man that she doesn't want to marry, so she escapes and she gets into the woods and she makes this deal with the devil? Who knows? And she wants to be able to escape, and she ends up living forever, or at least present time. Unfortunately, people never remember her once she leaves the room until... We're going to keep that vague, but I liked it. It's again very character driven, but it worked. I liked it quite a bit. The House in the Cerulean Sea, I have read it before I googled the author, which I would do. And you have this woman who works for like social services, and there's this orphanage that she goes to inspect. The kids are very different. So yeah. The Song of Achilles, actually there's also Circe, so Madeline Miller. I love her. I've been saying that she could publish her grocery list and I would give it 5-star. Like I love her writing, which again, usually I'm not into really heavy prose, but she does it so well. These like mythology retelling. The Song of Achilles is her most popular one, which I loved, but I feel like I like Circe more. Unpopular opinion for some reason. But yeah, a lot of people cry when they read The Song of Achilles, the love story. But yeah, it's beautiful, and then Circe is more of a revenge story, witchy vibes, love. Number 5, Before the Coffee Gets Cold. For some reason, I associate time travel to sci-fi, not fantasy, but it's here. This is a Japanese translation. It was meant to be a play, so it's really set in this little coffee shop. There are strict rules, but people can travel in time, so you're following a few different stories in that book. I was really into it because, again, premise was unique. I was intrigued, and then it goes in a direction that I personally absolutely hate. I can spoil in the comment section as always, but yeah, it goes into a trope that I cannot stand, so I lost interest, but it's really popular. Next we have 2 books by R.F. Kuang. So Babel, standalone adult fantasy dark academia, which again, we're going towards fall. This is the perfect time to read it. I think the main complaints I've seen is that it's really heavy in the academia vibes, which I loved. So I was really into it. I like that the magic system is based on languages. So in order to use the magic associated to that language, you have to be able to dream in that language. Just how like bilingual you have to be, which I feel like I would struggle for French and English now. I don't know how people do it. I feel like the more I learn English, the less I know French. So you have social commentary as always. She's always talking about colonialism, and I really like those messages. When I first finished it, I did feel like she was heavy-handed with the messages. Like, I think my review was that it feels like she grabs you by the neck, shoves your face in the message, and just rubs your face in it. I have since seen reviews, and maybe sometimes it's necessary. That's all I'm going to say. I will say I did find the last portion of the book was the weakest portion. I feel like I wish the characters, especially the side characters, the friendship had been developed more. I feel like the ending would have been better. It felt a bit rushed for me, but I do think this is absolutely worth reading. I did really enjoy it. And then the Poppy War, at least the first book in the Poppy War, love. You do get a bit of magical school, but this is a military school. Basically, the main character is struggling. She's lost her family. She feels very alone, and she will do everything to make it into this military school to become a general. And I like that the magic system is linked to gods, that basically the more you use the magical powers, the more you are driven crazy. And it goes again into a lot more because the rest of the story becomes bigger and bigger. And I love the female character, which for some reason I think is the main complaint I have seen, that she's unlikable. She's not meant to be. She's very morally gray, like dark gray, and we love her for it. And I like the ending because there's nothing worse than finishing a series and the ending sucks. So that was solid. Then you have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. People are still discovering the series every year, and I did really like it. I don't recommend starting with that series by him, but people always do, just because it's a really thick trilogy. But I love the magic system, the world building. Basically, first book, they're trying to overthrow the Empire, and the ending of that series blew my mind. Like, I had never read anything like this when I read it. So Cersei, we've talked about, and Wind and Truth, which I'm not that far in the series. The Unmaking of June Farrow is probably my least favorite. No, probably. It is my least favorite in that category. It's the only one I could not finish. I found it super boring. I love cozy and I love witchy vibes, and I thought this was going to be it for me. You have this woman, basically the woman and her family, they lose it eventually, but do they? Are they really going crazy? Witchy vibes. I had to put it down about 50% into it. I returned it to library. Again, it was an audiobook. How hard is it to finish an audiobook? Apparently impossible in that case. So yeah, I just couldn't do it. It's really popular though, so it might work for you, but yeah, I couldn't do it. And last but not least, you have Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is another book I would categorize as a children's book for adults. It was giving me Princess Bride vibes, which I like the idea of the vibes, I like the humor, but I just can't get emotionally invested in the story. So she goes to save her man, and I was really bored really quickly. It took me 3 months to finish it. So yeah, it wasn't for me. Romantasy, I have surprisingly read 5 of them. Most of these I wouldn't read more from the authors, so it is what it is. Number 2, you have Fourth Wing, which very readable, very terribly written. And I have so many issues in terms of the plot. This girl is trying to make it into this magical school again, and things go very wrong very quickly. She's not really made for this. My issues, to keep this spoiler free, my issues, the fact that there are horny dragons. Also, the fact that twice, she overhears an important discussion while she is up a tree. So many things like that happens that it's just not, like, I know it's fantasy, but it's just not believable. Like, it makes no sense. Anyway, no. Also, towards the end, I had lost interest. So yeah, I'm not going to read more by the author anyway. And then you have A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first 4 books in that series, I have read 3, unfortunately. And again, I'm not reading more from the author, but I don't understand the hype. I did like the second one at the time, even though it feels like she tries to match everyone together. Book 1 was not good, and book 3 felt like a middle book. So yeah, no. I did actually like One Dark Window. It is a duology, and I do think book 1 is much stronger than book 2, so keep that in mind. But it's very readable, as these kind of books tend to be. The love interest was, the whole romance portion was absolutely awful, and still love. Everything I don't like was in there. But I thought the world building and the magic was intriguing. It's based on like cards. Magical cards, they have to collect them all. Pokemon, in order to reverse the curse. So yeah, it had potential, but I didn't really care for book 2, unfortunately. Next we have Sci-fi, which is my category. Out of the 12, I have read or attempted to read all 12. In first position, we have my favorite book of, is it 2022? 2023. How long has it been? I, Who Have Never Known Men. I am so happy that this book is getting the love it deserves, because I don't understand how people had never heard of this book. It's so good. It's more speculative fiction than like sci-fi. You have this group of 40 women underground imprisoned, and they don't know where they are, why they are there. Things are very mysterious, but one day the door is left open, they escape, and It's not a book about finding answers. I like to say that because if you go into it with that mindset, you might be disappointed, but it's definitely more about, again, social commentary, a book I would recommend reading with other people because you can have any theories. To me, it's about humanity. What is left when you have nothing? It's about love. It's about community. It's about hope. It's definitely dark, but I really liked it, so highly recommend. Second position, you have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I have read, I think, all of his books, and this is like in the middle for me. I like The Martian more. Nothing could be as bad as Artemis. So it was a good read, but I can't help but compare it to these other ones because it's similar in the sense that he writes these characters trying to survive in space, only using their wit. And he does it well when it's a male character. And in this case, I felt like, again, I have to compare it to The Martian. Martian, I feel like he was trying to save himself and the story was going somewhere. Like there was a goal and things were progressing. In this one, he's trying to save humanity. And I felt like towards the middle, it got a little boring for me, but it goes back up. So it's still worth reading, in my opinion. I like the friendship. I like the ending. It's just a premise that I find really interesting. So I would recommend it. I think this is going to be made into a movie. I'm curious how they're going to do that. Animal Farm. I did not have to read that for high school, but a lot of people did. It's really, really short. I did really like it. Would recommend. Then you have 1984, which a lot of people also have to read that in high school. And I feel bad for you. A little bit of a tangent. Okay, it's not just about this book, but do you ever look at people that are raving about some classics or modern classics and they tell you they loved it and you're like, did you actually read it? But seriously, I found it personally incredibly boring. It's one of those books, I agree with the message, but like I didn't enjoy myself reading it. And like I read for my enjoyment. So, you know, there's a whole chapter where he's reading a book that no. So it was okay. It was okay. Orbital is one of the ones that I couldn't finish, but I am willing to give it a second shot. Is it worth it? I returned it really quickly to the library. So part of me is wondering if I did it too quickly. Let me know. The Handmaid's Tale is another one that I don't understand the hype. I was really, really bored. I appreciate that the author took only these real life stories of women of color and used them to write about white women so they would have empathy. And I can appreciate that. But reading it was not enjoyable. So it was fine. It was fine. The Ministry of Time. Why is it here? I promise I have loved some sci-fi books. They're just lower. The Ministry of Time is like historical fiction. Yes, there's time travel, but like not enough to be sci-fi. I am still very, very clearly mad about the fact that it won the Goodreads Choice Award in the sci-fi category because, again, it's like historical fiction romance and it sucked. I couldn't finish it. So yeah, basically they're using time travel machine to go and get back people that die in history and whatever. It was boring. It seems to divide people and clearly you can see where I am at. So you might like it since it won. So people must, I don't know who, but people must. Clearly I get very bitter when a book is really popular and I don't get the hype. So we have The Measure, which is a really good example of a really interesting premise that ended up being executed in a way that is mediocre, in my opinion. Basically, one day, people wake up and if you are over the age, is it 21, 22? You have this box that has a string in it and they figure out that the length is based on the length of your life. So how much do you have left? You know, what would you do if you knew that you weren't going to die until you're really old? And then they proceed to not try to figure out why or how it happened, which again, is such a waste. But yeah, it's very character-driven slice of life of like a bunch of these people that received a box and proceed to do nothing about it. Some point of views were incredibly boring. I almost put the book down. Towards the middle, there's like the military guy. I was so done, but eventually we moved past that. And yeah, it was okay, I guess, but I feel like you could have done so much more with that topic. Then you have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I think this is popular right now because it was made into a TV show. I like the book, but you have to go into it with the right mindset. His books read like movies. There's no really depth of the characters. The prose is not great, but it's just one of those books that will keep you up at night. So it did its job for sure. This man is kind of hitting his 40s. He's kind of feeling lost in life, thinking about the what ifs, you know? Did I do the right thing? He gets kidnapped and then he wakes up. His wife is not his wife. His son is nowhere to be seen. And he wants to go back to them. Fahrenheit 451. I had to read that in high school in English when I did not speak English, and that was painful. I understood absolutely nothing. I reread it recently, and honestly, I think it's cruel to make people read that when English is their second language because the prose is so unreadable. I'm putting this again in the category of books that the message is great, the experience was not, and is it really your favorite book? Or did you not read anything else? I just don't get it, basically. And next, we have my favorite book in this list, Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. Love her. I have read almost all of her books. I don't want to finish. But this series is amazing. It's 2 books. It was meant to be 5, I think. And we're not going to talk about it. You can read it as a duology. There's no cliffhanger or anything. You're following this girl who lives in a dystopian version of her world. The author really focused on what could be. And it hits way too close. Way too close. Opioid epidemic. You have, is it working towns? Like when companies own towns. That there's a rise in fascism, right-wing religion, a president saying that they want to make America great again. And this was published years ago. So the main character is basically starting her own religion. Her books are really, really dark, but there's always a message of hope. And I feel like this one, it's pretty present in book 1. So she basically tries to start Earth's seed. God is changed. That's basically the saying. And I did like book 1. Book 2 is probably my favorite book by her. And my review is literally that it is one of the best books I've ever read, but I never want to read it again. I am traumatized, and I would highly recommend it. Then you have All Systems Red, which is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. I really liked book 1, and I kept reading, and I felt like it became less and less interesting, but it's like 150 pages, and it's really fun. The main character is a robot, and they have to, their job is to work for humans, but they don't really care for humans. All they want to do is watch TV shows, which it's a little funny. It was interesting for 1 book, and I eventually gave up like 4.5 books into it. So I was still hopeful it was going to get better, but I feel like the story, like the overall story, is too weak, or it didn't maintain my interest, basically. It did become a TV show, which I started watching, and same thing happened. I lost interest like 6-7 episodes into it, but I still really enjoyed the first book, and I would recommend giving it a shot. For the horror category, I have read or attempted to read 9 of them. I used to not read that many, but I've really been starting and enjoying quite a few of them. So number 1, We Used to Live Here. Love. Made it to my best books of last year. It divides people, and horror in general tends to, and I feel like the endings of these books is usually the weakest portion, or the portion that divides people. And I understand you don't get all the answers, but I loved it. I really did. So this couple buys this house in the woods, and then while there's a storm happening and only one of the women at home, this man and his family show up, and he says, I used to live here. Can we look around? And she says yes, because she's a people pleaser. And I feel like you have to make a mistake for a horror book to start anyway. So things get weirder and weirder. There are scenes in the basements, which is like automatically terrifying to me. And it's another book I would read with someone if you can, because the theories you can create in your head, I know there's like Reddit pages about it, but yes, I personally really liked it. You don't want to know more than that, just read it. Number 2 is Hidden Pictures. I was liking it until the ending. I can spoil it in the comment section. I feel like some things should not be a twist. And it's not a spoiler to say twist, because you have to have an answer. Basically, this woman becomes a nanny for this rich family, and things are being weird around the kid, drawing these things, these weird things, which do not listen to it as an audiobook. I'm glad some of you told me not to, because there are drawings. You have to see them. So physical or ebooks. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I love this one. I think this is my favorite book by the author. It's horror, kind of a little bit fantasy. It's set in the 1970s. You're following young girls that were sent to this house because they're pregnant, and in shame they have to give birth, and only then they can return to their family. So there's a lot of social commentary on that portion, which I appreciated. I also like that the horror portion is also the real stuff, not the witchy stuff, which I completely skipped. Basically, there's this woman that brings books to the girls every 2 weeks, and one day she gives one of them a book that is a witchy book. So it becomes very much revenge, female rage kind of story. Like their body's not their body. They're being probed. They're just being forced to go along with it. So yes, I did really like that one. Tender as the Flesh is disgusting. It's a dystopian version of our world where this disease happens and now humans cannot eat animal flesh. So what do they eat? Yeah. It was good. It was good. But yeah, it's yeah. Bunny, I'm surprised this is here. I have seen it going around quite a bit on TikTok, and I feel like if you're someone that likes literary fiction and you're trying to read horror, I can see why you would pick this one. Dark academia vibes a little bit too. This girl goes to university, and the girls she's with are being weird. They call each other Bunny, and she thinks she's so much better than them, basically. And then until she, kind of becomes one of them. I'm gonna keep it vague, but I feel like there's good weird and then there's bad weird. For me, this was bad weird. It goes weird direction. It might work for you though. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. People are reading this. I mean, I'm not surprised people are reading it, but that it is one of the most popular books, that's the portion that surprises me. Is it because people have to read it in school? It's one of those books that I am glad I read it because of its, historical importance. I can't say I enjoyed reading it though. Home Before Dark. At this point, I will never read another book by this author because there's just something about a male author writing under a gender-neutral pen name that keeps writing stories that rely on the main female character being dumb that just doesn't do it for me. But this isn't his worst book by far. If you like haunted houses, he tends to play with this idea of like, is it people? Is it supernatural? Which is interesting. The ending, again, divides people because you're gonna get an answer. I personally, again, didn't like the female character. He tried something in the beginning. For some reason, that's the portion that stuck with me. And I've noticed that whenever something random is stuck in my mind and the only thing I can think of about a book, it's because I didn't enjoy it. But there's a scene where she goes back to the house that her parents used to live in with her when they were a kid. They ran away and the neighbor tries to come and help her. And she's like, no, I'm a strong, independent woman. It just rang so weird. It's the kind of scene that if it's your first time reading from this author, you're going to put the book down and Google the author to see if it's a male author. Because no. No. Incidents Around the House. Do not listen to that book as an audiobook. Do I still have it? Don't think the story was bad. You have like haunted house, possession kind of vibes with a young girl. And the book was okay, but the audiobook, there's only so many times I can hear this awful voice for the kid, and she keeps calling her dad Daddo. It's the most grating thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Do not listen to the audiobook. You're gonna think I'm being dramatic. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna download my video and like put it here because...
Good night, Daddo. Good night, Mommy. Mommy and Daddo leave my room. I pull the covers up to my chin. Other Mommy comes out of the closet.
Right? I'm not being dramatic. It's genuinely awful. Then you have Night B Word. YouTube is a poo-poo head. I can't say that, apparently. I love a good, like, female rage kind of story. This one is really short. You have this woman and she is a mother. She just, had a baby and her husband is a piece of caca and she feels really lost. She lost herself. She has no support with anyone and she's trying to make friends at this library, for example, with her baby, and she's slowly losing it, or is she? And yeah, I like I said, I love a good female rage kind of story, and I hated the ending. I personally don't want kids, so for me, this is like the perfect example of like the worst case scenario for my life. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but to me, this is actually horror. Like, actually horror. Next, you have romance. I have read 6 of them, and the fact that I'm not a romance reader, yet I have enjoyed these books a lot more than other categories is a sign that things are weird. This is a strange list for me. Number 2, you have Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was a good book. I have read like 6 of her books now, and I think this is like number 3. It's a solid one. You have these 2 people. They used to be in a relationship with other people, and they end up cheating and going together. So they end up pretending to be together. At first make them jealous, and then I'm rushing through it, but the banter is good. Would recommend. Lights Out doesn't really count because I returned it really quickly to the library. But I had heard that this was funny, and I think it was the wrong book, and you gave me a warning, and thank you, because I listened to this in an audiobook. I can't even speak anymore because slightly traumatized. I don't read spicy books. I mean, I have a few times for fun in vlogs, but this, no. No. Nothing could have prepared me for it. This woman that likes to watch spicy videos on TikTok of men wearing masks has a favorite creator, and then there's this man that likes her that might be that creator, and he's imagining these scenes in his head. It got returned really quickly. Not for me, but it's really popular. So if that's your thing, it's popular. There are 2 books by the same author. So Just for the Summer and Part of Your World are number 3 and number 1 in a trilogy. And I'm going to start with Part of Your World because it's my favorite. I really liked it. It was one of the first romance books that I really enjoyed. I was listening to that one as an audiobook, and I would find excuses to listen to it. I was literally giggling, kicking my feet. Like yes. I think that the difference between this one and other really popular ones that I have seen and read and was disappointed by is the fact that finally you get a male character that is not a complete red flag. I feel like whenever they start doing things that I would never forgive, I would not want my friend to forgive, I can't keep going. Like, I can't root for you. Like, when they end up together at the end, I'm like, break up with him. Like, he did 3 awful things to you. Like, break up with him. Not the case in this one. If anything, she was the one that was annoying me a little bit, but not for long, so it was fine. Basically, you get a rich girl from the city, this younger man actually from a small town, and she gets, basically the book starts with her falling into a ditch and him helping her. But yeah, he was a green flag, which was refreshing, sadly. And just for the summer, this one is 2 very dysfunctional people that match each other's freak, I guess. She tends to include some kind of dysfunction in their family on both sides and then try to make them go together. So this is my second favorite book in that trilogy by her. Number 2 sucked. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care what people say. I don't care. I don't care if it's an unpopular opinion. Number 2 in that series was not worth it. And they're vaguely related, so it's not really a must. But yes, this one was still good. Say You'll Remember Me. Damn, Abby, you're popular. This is her newest release. I did read it. I did like it. Apparently it's unpopular. I understand why people were critiquing the things. I do feel like the family drama becomes a lot, but I enjoyed it. Once again, the 2 characters are green flags and it's grumpy sunshine kind of romance, and I like them. It is what it is. And last but not least, The 7-Year Slip, which, interesting premise, okay execution. This woman loses the most important person in her life, her aunt, and she gets this apartment, this magical apartment. When she gets there, there's a man there that is renting it for the summer, but she realizes that there is some time difference happening. It was good. The young adult category, I have read or attempted to read, I think 3 of them. Way too many of them are from Sarah J. Maas, which I don't support anymore. Number 1 is Sunrise on the Reaping, which was good. Yes, was it fan service? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But I love the Hunger Games. It was nice to see the story through the eyes of young Amish, and I liked seeing the other characters. Like, yeah, I'm realizing I'm trying to explain it, and you already know what's going to happen, but you get more of the backstory of the characters, and yeah, fan service. But I liked it. Doesn't matter. Throne of Glass is the story of the most incompetent assassin of all time. Okay, but before I even stop supporting the author, I hated that book. I've logged it, and I couldn't understand why people liked it. Because, to give you an example, again, I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. She's in this competition, okay? Everyone is trying to kill her, and then one day she comes back to her room, and there's, like, is it candy, chocolate on her bed, and she eats it. You deserve to die. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, no, did not care for it. Didn't care for the love triangle. And I feel like I'm too old to understand why the captain of the guard would be like 20. It's just like, can you imagine if you are someone that has been in the army your whole life and then you have to listen to a 20-year-old? Oh, there's a 4th one, The Hunger Games. Yes, of course. I haven't read it in forever, but I'm sure it's still worth it. I'm assuming people were rereading it because the movies, but yes. Yes, of course. Memoir category, I have read 3 of them. The first one is I'm Glad My Mom Died, which dramatic title, fantastic book. I was not familiar with the author. Again, I grew up only speaking French, so by the time her shows were translated, I was too old, but it was still interesting. I would recommend. By the way, is the 3rd Gilmore Girl worth it? I mean, it is very read at the moment, but is it worth it? Let me know. Educated was a lot. I would recommend not listening to it as an audiobook because I couldn't skip some portions, okay? I don't skip portions, but I would have. A lot of family abuse. Main character is homeschooled, if you want to say it that way, but eventually goes ahead and gets a PhD. She escapes. Crying in H Mart, another dysfunctional family mother-daughter relationship. Worth it. History and biography section, I have only read 2. Sapien, A Brief History of Humankind. I feel so-so about the author now, but at a time I did overall enjoy it. But I wanted to rave about the Radium Girls. This is dramatic, but so good. Don't read a ton of history. It's really not my genre, but this is more like history, but it's workers' rights. Also about like feminism a little bit. So these women that were painting these clocks using radium, and they would put the brushes in their mouth to like make it very pointy. And the side effects of radium, because now we know what's gonna happen. So gross, but so good. Would recommend the author in general, but yes, would also skip the audiobook actually, because listening to jaws falling, literally, yeah, a lot. Last but not least, general fiction. There's a lot of self-help on here, which is not my thing. I did read Atomic Habits, and I somehow ended up listening to it like 3 times. Don't even ask me. It wasn't voluntary. The first time I liked it. I have to say the last time I was in a car ride and I had no choice. And I don't know if it was a different narrator, but it was absolutely awful. So I don't know. Sometimes when you read a book, different time in your life, you feel differently about it. But yeah, self-help, I do think it's very digestible compared to other books about habits. So it's not bad, or it wasn't the first time. Invisible Women, I do think it's an important topic, a good introduction to the topic. I'm looking for more. If you have any recommendations, maybe something that are a bit more diverse and inclusive. But it's crazy how you don't realize how everything is sexist. You know, people are going to tell you it's not that deep. It is. It always is. It is. Whether it is seatbelts being sexist or cleaning the sidewalks being sexist. Honestly, you read this and you're like, wow, I did not realize. It is very frustrating, but worth it. The Art Thief is another book that I focus on the wrong thing because I guess I didn't enjoy the book. You're following this man who is stealing stuff because his papa didn't love him. And he's basically using the woman in his life to let him survive and pay his bills. Yeah, we're just gonna... Clearly it wasn't the book for me. And The Body Keeps the Score, I started it, got returned to the library before I could finish it, and then I have since heard awful things by the author, and it makes me realize maybe that's why I wasn't feeling it. I think there are better books about trauma and, you know, the body. That's it. That was the longest video ever. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to keep this somewhat interesting. If you want to share your own opinions on these books, feel free to do so in the comment section. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, including I did do my yearly unhaul video, getting rid of books, and then I will link my Read It or Unhaul It challenge, where I'm trying to read all the 450 unread books on my shelf and struggling. I will see you then. Bye.